The lake was calm that morning, its glassy surface broken only by faint ripples from the wind. Ethan Cross, a reclusive biologist, was knee-deep in the water, checking his sensor nodes when he spotted something unusual. Movement under the surface, fast and frantic. A loud splash echoed across the shoreline, and Ethan froze. His eyes narrowed. Something or someone was struggling, drowning. Without hesitation, he dropped his equipment and waded deeper, water splashing around him as he pushed forward. "Hang on!" Ethan shouted, his heart racing. As he got closer, he saw it, a strange form thrashing beneath the water just out of reach. At first, it looked like an animal, maybe a seal or an otter. Its limbs flailed, sleek and dark. But when he grabbed it, strong hands pulling the being to the surface, he realized how wrong he was. The animal gasped, a raspy, desperate breath filling the air. She wasn't a seal at all. She was human-like. Ethan stumbled backward, nearly dropping her in shock. The figure in his arms was a woman, but alien in the most mesmerizing ways. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent silver-blue hue, slick like the water itself. Her hair, long and flowing, was a deep shade of obsidian, almost liquid, trailing like ink in the shallows. Her eyes blinked open, impossibly large and radiant, glowing faintly with a golden light. She stared at him, chest heaving. Ethan swallowed hard, unsure if he was rescuing a drowning victim or making the worst mistake of his life. "Who? What are you?" he stammered. The alien woman coughed, her voice strange and melodic, like a whisper carried on a breeze. "You saved me." Ethan couldn't help but notice her lips curled upward into a faint smile, grateful, but also something else. Something knowing. Ethan carried her to the shore, where she collapsed onto the sand, trembling. Her body, though alien, was lithe and graceful, but exhaustion left her weak. Ethan grabbed a towel from his bag and crouched beside her, wary but curious. "You okay?" he asked. "I am now," she murmured, looking at him with those glowing eyes. "Thanks to you." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "I've got questions, like a lot of questions. But first, are you hurt?" She shook her head slowly, droplets falling from her dark hair. "My kind are not meant to stay in water this long. It saps our strength." "You're not from here, are you?" Ethan muttered, sitting back on his heels. She smiled faintly, propping herself up on her elbows. "No, my people are travelers of worlds, but I have been stranded here, alone." Ethan's curiosity burned hotter. "How long?" "Long enough to see your kind. Long enough to know you are different." "Different?" She tilted her head, studying him, as though she were examining something precious. "You would risk yourself for a life you do not understand. You act on instinct. Compassion. That is rare." Ethan rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed. "Yeah, well, drowning's drowning, alien or not." The alien woman's smile widened, a glint of something playful in her golden eyes. "You do not even know my name, and yet you saved me." He shrugged. "Fair point. So, what is your name?" "I am Sarai, of the Lyrinx." "Lyrinx?" Ethan repeated, the name rolling awkwardly off his tongue. "Never heard of it." "You would not have," Sarai said softly, sitting upright. "We keep to the stars. Until, like me, we fall from them." Ethan sighed, shaking his head. "Well, Sarai, you're lucky I was here. Most people wouldn't even come near this lake." "Perhaps it was no accident," she replied, her voice low and musical. Ethan glanced at her. "What's that supposed to mean?" Sarai shifted, her silver-blue skin catching the light as she leaned closer. "I was not just drowning, Ethan Cross. I was calling." "Calling," he repeated, frowning. "For you," Sarai said simply, her golden eyes locked onto his. "I sensed you." I have watched you. Wait, you've what? Ethan stammered, suddenly uneasy. You live alone, Sarai continued, unbothered by his discomfort. You wander these woods, these waters, speaking to no one. You search for meaning in life other than your own. You listen to the world. She paused, her gaze softening. And so, I listened to you. Ethan's pulse quickened. That doesn't explain how you ended up drowning. Sarai smiled, sly and serene all at once. It was the only way to bring you to me. I had to know. Know what? If you were worthy. Worthy? Ethan barked a nervous laugh. Worthy of what? Sarai reached out then, her fingers brushing his hand. The moment they touched, a wave of warmth rippled through Ethan's body, as though his very veins had caught fire. His mind flooded with visions of stars vast and endless, of cities suspended in light, of her standing before him, radiant and otherworldly. He gasped, pulling his hand back. Well, what was that? The truth, Sarai said softly. I am here not by chance, Ethan Cross. I chose this place. I chose you. Ethan's mind reeled. Why me? Sarai leaned closer, her voice a gentle murmur. Because you are what my kind has forgotten. Compassion, loyalty, and strength untainted by power. You saved me, and in return, I will give you a choice. A choice? Ethan whispered, entranced. Sarai smiled, her golden eyes glowing brighter. Join me. Leave this place and come with me to the stars. My kind needs you, though they do not yet know it. I need you. Her hand lingered near his, offering more than words could explain. Ethan's heart thundered in his chest. He looked at her, this alien woman who had called him, tested him, and now offered him the universe. He thought of his empty cabin, his lonely research, the silent nights where the only company he had was the hum of insects. And for the first time in years, he felt alive. Leave Earth, he said, almost to himself. To gain the stars, Sarai replied softly. And perhaps more? Ethan looked at her glowing hand, then at her golden eyes. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew he couldn't return to his old life. Not after meeting her. He reached out, his fingers brushing hers. All right, Sarai, take me to the stars. Sarai's smile turned radiant, her entire form shimmering with light. Then let us go. As the lake shimmered behind them, the two vanished in a cascade of golden light, leaving nothing but ripples in the water and the faintest whisper of starlight.